1953, a very difficult time for Greece. Just out of its civil war, where many lives were lost and families divided. George Vasiliou, a medical doctor in military service, on his way to the villages in northern Greece near the border with Bulgaria. His horse stumbles and stops. In front, a forgotten minefield, an unbearable scene of human skeletons before him. Bodies that had not been buried, left to feed the animals. What human destruction! That night he could not sleep. So many questions rising up inside. Why? What now? Politicians, economists, architects were all reconstructing Greece. But what about the human being? What about Anthropos and the family? By dawn he had decided he would create a center of resistance to entropic, antagonistic processes of Anthropos and his systems. A center to facilitate the reconstructing process of families, groups, and communities. George did not go on alone. He had a number of fellow doctors that joined him. Having read and been moved by a news column article written by a young woman, he went to meet her in Athens, Vaso Nomikou, who would later become his partner for life. George and Vaso went to study in the United States. Here they learned the newly developing systems epistemology and found it appropriately fitted with their goals for Greece. During this period, they became close with scientists such as Don Jackson, Nathan Ackerman, Paul Václavic, Milton Erickson, and particularly Virginia Satir. In 1963, upon returning to Greece, the Vasilious founded the Athenian Institute of Anthropos, which, according to Wendell Ray of the Mental Research Institute in the United States, was the first in Europe and one of the first 4 institutes of family therapy in the world. The emblem of the institute became the lamp of the ancient Greek philosopher Diogenes, who was known for his searching for Anthropos, the whole human being. Over the years, the Vasilious spread the systemic word throughout Europe, training many professionals, particularly facilitating the development of family therapy in previous Eastern European countries, which at that time were relatively closed to foreign teaching. Countries such as Hungary with Bela Buda, Bulgaria with Tomas Tomov, the Soviet Union at the Bekhterev Institute, and Yugoslavia with Vlado Huralin and Branko Gazic. Along with prominent social psychologists Harry Triandis and Charles Osgood, Vaso would go on to conduct very important research on the subjective culture of the traditional family context as compared to that of more modern milieu. Results of this research are still applied today in various countries, both in therapy and training. In 1967, George presented at the first World East-West Congress of Family and Group Psychotherapy in Chicago, where Jackson, Ackerman, Carl Whitaker, and others came together for the first time. The Vasilious would then often visit to teach in the United States. George and Vaso also developed the groundbreaking Delphic Symposia on Family Therapy, where important pioneers gathered biannually in ancient Delphi and engaged in fruitful conversations about the field. George was an integral part of the then social psychiatry movement. Within this context, the Vasilious did not only apply systems to family therapy, but always in conjunction to group therapy and community preventive programs. A multi-level, multifocal intervention model. They wrote very early chapters, both in Nathan Ackerman's 1970 book on family therapy in transition, and also published their work in Jim Durkin's book on living groups. The Vasilious organized the International Symposium on Systemic Group Therapy in 1985 in Athens. From the early beginning, George was one who very often used metaphors in his therapy and training, along with stories about his growing up with his grandmother.
Αλλά και εγώ θυμάμαι τη γιαγιά μου να μεγαλώνει με τάξη. Λοιπόν, τι γίνεται ο μεταξοσκόλικας όταν οριμάσει πια μέσα στο κουκούλι και είναι έτοιμος να βγει και να πετάξει σαν χρυσαλίδα. Έχεις δει? Βέβαια. Και ξαφνικά μπροστά στα μάτια μας γίνεται ένα θαύμα. Ο μεταξοσκόλικας που είναι μια τυπική κάμπια. Βγάζει φτερά και αρχίζει και πετάει. Αυτό είναι ένα θαύμα για όποιον το έχει δει. Από κάποια πράγμα που πετάει. Κάποιο αδυνατούλισμας. Μέσα στο κουκούλι το αδυνατούλισμας. Ας γίνει κάτι που να μπορεί να πετάξει. Και το πέταγμα εξαρτάται από τη δύναμη που θα δώσουμε εμείς οι ίδιοι στα φτερά μας. Δεν θα μας τα δώσει κανείς. Εμείς θα τα δώσουμε.
Here we can be reminded of a story of Diogenes. It is said that one day Alexander the Great visited Diogenes at his barrel where he lived. Alexander asked him, "Dear teacher, what can I offer you as a gift? The countryside, the mountain, whatever you desire." And Diogenes answered, "Just move a little bit to the side, because you are hiding the sun." This was George and Vaso Vassiliou, therapists, trainers, but most importantly, teachers of life, anthropy, who live their lives in full accordance with their teachings and values. He has the most who is most content with the least. It is no wonder then that in 2001 in Budapest, Hungary, George and Vaso were bestowed with one of the first European Family Therapy Association awards for pioneering excellence in the field. Now George was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in his 40s and was given 10 years to live. But this was not enough time for him or Vaso. They went on for more than 30 years to train colleagues and prepared a group of us to take on the further developmental process of Anthropos. We, today's Anthropos team, are grateful to have scientifically and humanly been raised by these most rare and important human beings, and are committed to taking their pioneering work further. For there are now many and new skeletons that need to be discovered, honored, and cared for in our globalized 21st century Europe.